Hi, I'm Jen Turrell, and you're about to watch a Mastering Money Matters weekly blab with the women from my Mastering Money Matters group. This is a small group for women who are freelancers, entrepreneurs, and small business owners where we discuss the specifics of the finances that apply to you. We talk about launch cycles, irregular income, quarterly estimated taxes, and other things that are a little different from your general W-2 employment situation. So if this applies to you, come on in and join the conversation. But I know I need to go in and do the videos. And actually yesterday I didn't snap much and I haven't snapped anything yet today. It's been one of those days. It's just been kind of like.
I know. Now that I haven't touched my phone since Saturday, at first it was hard, but now I'm like, this is kind of nice. I'm like not really sad about it. It's weird. But
yeah. I've been doing a little bit of a social media break, but in the midst of that, now I've had a few people private message me and be like, you never responded to that tag in my group. And I'm like, I think I have too many notifications on for all different things that I don't notice when it's someone actually tagging me. So I need to redo that. But Alexis, you look beautiful too.
Thank you. Well, I have my webinar coming up. Can you see it snowing? No, it won't adjust. It's like
light.
Yeah,
What's
it's like
the webinar?
pouring down.
I'm signed up for your webinar, and I put it in my newsletter this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What time is it next after this?
Yeah, it's at 3:00. It's in an hour.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. We'll go straight from this. So I had to change the URL because Melissa and I got locked out of the other one. And we did have some other people who were in MMM on the old one. So I'm hoping they'll hop over here somehow or another, because that would be awesome because we could just lead straight into your webinar afterwards.
Well, I will have to jump off a little bit before, but I am so curious to hear about you Snapchatting.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do a quick snap school, and then we'll do Alexis before.
Are you curious about Jen Snapchatting or me Snapchatting?
Yeah, insert anybody. I actually have a bunch of people that I know through business who are switching their businesses over to Snapchat, and I'm like, wait, what? Because I was on Snapchat a year ago, and then I just got off because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Well, are you signed up for Snap School? Get your butt over there.
Oh, okay.
Put the URL
write it down.
Yeah, put the URL in.
Okay,
Well, because so I've started using it, and what I found interesting was that I use it in a completely different way than I use other social media formats, mainly because Miffy, my 6-year-old, loves it. She thinks it's the story of our day together. So I'll put a few things in from work, but it ends up being like all the rest of my day, which honestly is a much bigger part of my day. You know, I only really spend from 9 to 2:30 doing real work because the kids are the rest of it. So yeah, it's like a completely different side of my life than I've ever shown before, but it seems so much more private because I have such a small Snapchat family following, you know. What is your Snapchat name, Alexis? Do you still have an account?
Yes, I do. It is, it's a long story, but my Snapchat name is Fatal Tailor Like a Sewer.
Okay.
Wait,
so it's Fatal. Yeah, it's Fatal Tailor, but spelled like, it's a long story, but.
Once I resurrect my phone from the dead, I will add you on my Snapchat.
Well, I should have put it as my business. It never occurred to me. I joined it to like keep up with my nephew and nieces. And some people I know in their 20s, and I never sort of got it.
Taylor.
But I'm signing up for your program literally as we speak. So here we go.
Yeah, because I've been seeing people talking about this. Gary Vaynerchuk and people like that were basically talking about this being, you know, the next Twitter, really. And I can kind of see why. Like what Melissa told me is it's kind of for the super fans and the people that I've signed up to follow. I feel that way too. I'm like, oh, I just saw Farnoosh Torabi's baby's feet. Like, that's interesting. Oh no, I just unclicked you. After clicking you. Come here. How do I click you back?
Me?
Who are you talking about?
Alexis. I thought I was clicking her.
Oh.
No. I unclicked you. Maybe you can add me. I'm JL.
We were already friends. I don't know.
I may have already, I don't know. Let me try it again. Okay. Anyway, go ahead, Melissa, and tell her what this is.
Snap School? Okay, or Snapchat, like how to use it for business. Basically, yeah, just like I told Jen, because I kind of led her through this private like tutorial. I was just like, Jen, this is what you do, this is what it's for. Anyways, yeah, it's definitely for your super fans, but they love it because it's like that's what it's there for, is like the platform is there for you to share what's happening in the moment. And then, yeah, it goes away after 24 hours. So it's the story aspect, I guess. People think, hi, Jen. She's snapping
this right now. I'm putting this on Snapchat.
But yeah, it's really fun. So basically, when you go into Snapchat, you have the option of communicating one-on-one with people or posting your story. And the story aspect is the part that people really use for their business. And the one-on-one engagement, that can be up to you how you want to play that. But yeah, it's just really fun. You get to be creative. You get to share behind the scenes. You get to share just little parts of your life that actually show that you are a real person, that you are walking your talk. Like, you know, you don't live in a cardboard box and yet you're saying you make 6 figures, like things like that. You can totally be like who you are. And then your people love you because the people who kind of get to know you throughout the day and what you're doing, they're going to be like, oh, this is so cool. And yeah. So,
and I love how sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I love how Melissa, while you were building up to Snap School, you kept giving hints on Snapchat, like I'm working on something new, and she'd put her hand over part of the screen, so we couldn't quite see what it was, but it was like big things coming, woohoo! And I got to know that because I saw her Snapchat.
Yeah,
cool.
I really, I like that there's no competition because there's no like heart count, there's no like follower count, there's no like anything that you're trying to like be better than anybody else about. It's all very private. You post something and people can choose to look at it or not, and then it really doesn't matter. It's like not about that. And so yeah, it's Jen's comment. Yeah, it's really cool. So I'll teach you everything from basics, everything you need to know.
How to do animation.
Well,
Yeah.
I like the idea that that you're focused on the story and not on the individual. Ooh.
We're gonna spend half of this blab on our phones being like, oh, Snapchat.
I feel so left out.
I made the craziest face for mine. That's awesome.
You haven't taken it out of the rice yet?
Not yet, because I really want to give it time to like dry out, but I will. I mean, I could do it. I think I should do it today. It's been 3 days.
Maybe you should put the bag on the windowsill in the sun for a little bit.
Oh.
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 No.
Jen, what is your how should I add you? How do we find
I
you?
just wanted to add you.
Or Melissa, how do we find
what
you?
I would normally do would be to show you my little ghost thing, but since I can't do that right now, you just type in my name. It says you can add by username. If you click, there should be a couple options. Did you see that? So my username is just Melissa Opie, all one word. So yeah, it's just my name, and then it should come up.
Aww. That's a cute ghost. Okay,
And
cool.
I'm JL Turrell. Hey, it looks like Jeanette's hopped in too. Hey, Jeanette, do you want to get on here?
Yay!
Yeah, that was my second attempt with letting a stranger in. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I mean, I'm sure he was a perfectly nice guy, but that's not what we're doing here. You know, there are lots and lots of opportunities for men all over the place in different ways. This is our own group, so we get to make the rules. Hi, Jeanette. How's it going?
I want to say that I cannot believe that the dog just asked to go out again. Last week.
Okay, well, you can come back in a sec.
You can wait a little bit. We'll see how this goes. I swear, it's exactly the same as soon as we started last week. She's been quiet.
Okay, so Melissa's got Snap School coming up. We were just sharing her URL, and she was explaining why it is a cool tool for business owners as well as people. Alexis, you're going to have to go in a little bit for your webinar, so why don't you update us, put the link for the webinar in, let's tell everybody about it. Oh, because it's happening after this blab. So everyone should go from this blab to Alexis's webinar afterwards.
Yay! Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I do this this is actually a new webinar for me, which is really exciting and also nerve-wracking, and also why I can't believe I'm spending the hour before it here, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe, but I'm feeling really chill about it. I've been doing Periscopes. It's like, I know my stuff. It's actually going to be hard to keep it to an hour, to be honest. But this one, it's a huge topic. It's about basically the whole idea of a clarity fairy. Like, where's this clarity fairy who's going to wave the wand and be like, ta-da, your business is finally clear. You know what you're doing. And who you're talking to and what your message is for. And since the clarity fairy doesn't exist, as far as I know, it's, the strategic piece is looking at it from the process that I use to how do you actually figure out how to get clear on these things. So we're going to be talking about big vision stuff and how that then can give us the clarity on our audience, on our big message, and what we actually offer. Yeah, so it's specifically focused on people who have tons and tons of skills and talents and don't know how to choose.
Colors.
So,
Melissa, we were talking about that, about you finding a new name for yourself to better describe all these things that you've been doing. Maybe the clarity fairy would help with that too.
Maybe the clarity fairy. Yeah, because basically I love this analogy because I have to show you the snow. Can you see all of that snow? How can I
see whiteness.
How can I
looks white.
light it?
Can you carry us closer with you to the door?
Well, I'm so plugged into microphones and lighting, but yes, let me see if I can do this.
Ooh,
yeah.
It is like pouring down.
Whenever that happens here, I totally lose internet. I hope you don't.
Well, we didn't have any, when we lose power, we lost power this morning. I don't know if you can see it better there. When we lost power this morning, it was, we lose heat and water.
Oh my God.
And so, and of course, the garage door wouldn't open, so I couldn't leave. I'm in upstate New York. But right when we got on the call, the snow was the size of like literal tennis balls. I've never seen snow that big. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Yeah, so one of the analogies I really liked that I was playing with over the last week was the idea that, we all have these different skills and talents, and it's as if you're wearing like a beaded necklace, and all these different beads are making up who you are, but we're looking for that central thread that's connecting them all, because that central thread is the messaging. I think, Jen, you were on the Periscope when I was talking about this on last Monday. So for me, like that central thread is self-allegiance. Now, I don't use that phrase publicly because nobody knows what it means, but for me, that's the central thread. Like no matter what I'm doing, I'm trying to help people get back in touch with themselves. And so I'm wondering if there's like, for your work, there's like this central theme coming through all these different modalities and methods that you use.
Are you talking specifically to me or just in general?
Well, just in general, but yeah, you. I don't know enough about your business
okay,
to know.
Just wondering. But no, it's true. The more that I've been just kind of like, okay, so the biggest thing I have to say on this topic is that instead of holding back because you don't know the thing, like I've just sort of gone with whatever I felt like offering at the moment. And actually that's worked really well for me. So like, and that's actually helped me to clarify more and more what that central messaging is. Cause then I've noticed like, oh, this is a recurring theme. Instead of like, because I did hold myself back for a long time thinking, I don't know what to call myself. If I say I'm a health coach, then I have to stick with that. If I say I'm a life coach, I have to stick with that. If I have to say I'm a like whatever, I have to stick with that. And then it kept being like, wait, why don't I just go for it? Like whatever really lights me up to offer right now is really what I need to be doing. So, and then I've noticed that there's definitely that underlying theme of like, okay, I see. It's kind of just like me and my thing that, so.
Yeah. You like we end up sharing one message, even if it comes out in all these different ways.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think that's like a really big topic, and so I think it's really good that you're talking about it because I hear that all the time. People are like, "But I have so many interests. I don't know which one to choose." And it's not like you have to be married to that one thing. But also, like, yeah, it is interesting to see how everybody does eventually transition in their businesses, or they do or they don't. But, like, it's this interesting mix of, like, be willing to be flexible, but also, like, don't just follow the crowd either. It's, yeah.
And I've noticed with you, Melissa, because I'm one of the people who does this to you, is that you have the happiness thing, which is awesome too. But because you're very adept at these new platforms that a few of us struggle with a lot, we come to you for help. So, I mean, that's one of those things, I know in a lot of different groups, they say, what do people come to you for help with?
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're forcing you to help us with these things. We keep being like, Melissa, I don't know what happened. My account disappeared. How do I record? How do I use this somewhere else? And even right now, I actually just the other day forced Melissa to make me an offering to fix my YouTube channel. I was like, how much do I have to pay you to fix it and make it look right and make it look like a professional person's page instead of like, showing everything that I like, especially because my kids like lots of random things like cool school, so I was having like all of my kids' stuff and my stuff and everything all in the same YouTube. And Melissa's, I basically forced money on her to fix it for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's all, like, all that tech stuff comes, like, so easily for me that I don't even think about it too often because I'm like, because I have to do it for my own business and I'm just like, yeah, you just do this, of course. And then I don't think that other people think that's, like, a skill or something that I have to offer. So it's been really interesting, and I'm glad that, Jen, like, that you were like, hey, can you, like, do this? And I'm like, yeah. But,
yeah.
It's like that's the part of it that's so hard. Like, we can all set it up, and then after that we're like, well, but now what? And that's the part where we get a little
and I think it does come more easily to some people than others. And I think, I'm curious to watch, like, with my kids who have never experienced a not connected world like this. Like, wow, what are they going to be like in 10 years, 20 years, and Jeanette, your kids who are closer to, being full independent humans. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways.
I just found out today that Bella got into honors algebra and English in high school next year. So.
After winning the hockey tournament. They were up here for a hockey tournament this weekend, which was awesome.
Oh, cool.
So Jen and I get to hang this weekend because my daughter was playing hockey in Flagstaff, so we get to sit at the ring together.
I know we're not that far apart, but for some reason it's just far enough that it's hard for either of us to make the trip without a reason, like an appointment of some kind. But I know Alexis has to get off here pretty soon. So why don't you give us all the information, put the thing in there again. Anyone watching, give them a quick synopsis of what they'll learn on your webinar before you have to go.
Yes, we are going to go through. So if you own a business, specifically an online business, but any business really, we're going to be talking about what's your message, who do you actually serve, what do you offer them, and why are you doing it? So what's the underlying theme going behind everything so that you can actually get clear on who you help and what you offer them.
Yay! I really do like that, what you said about the necklace and the beads and everything. That was like a really good analogy, just saying.
Oh, good. Thanks. Well, and I think so many people get confused on the message versus the method. And so when people are like, oh, I found my calling, I'm a nurse. And I'm like, no. Like, a nurse is like a way of bringing your calling to life. But your message, like what you're here to share and feel, and that people feel being around you, because people just feel what you're sharing, right? Like, people feel certain ways around you. You don't have to do anything to live your purpose. It's like absorbed off of you. But so this whole idea that like, I have to choose one thing and that's my whole purpose in life. It's like, there's lots of different ways to bring your purpose to life. Your business is one of them, but even your business is going to change, and you're going to have all these different services and offerings over time, even if you're in a product-based business. So it's like, what actually are you trying to bring to life through that business? Because that's the message that's important, that actually makes you feel fulfilled. Otherwise, we're just in businesses to use time and or play with money, like we want this like feeling of deep fulfillment, then we've got to tie it to something bigger. So yeah, I love that analogy, because it takes away from the methodology, like each bead's the way you work, right? And then the strings,
So Alexis, what's your why?
What's my why? So my biggest one is, I haven't found a good word for this yet, but is this self-allegiance piece. So for me, that feeling of being enough, which I call enoughness, is really, really key. So like, how do I help people feel enough? And I give them these tools and techniques, and whether it's yoga or meditation or like strategy work, like all of it comes back to one thing, which is that you inherently have it already within you. And here's all these different tools to tap into it so that you know that, okay, I'm enough. Like everything's cool. I'm just fine as I am. Now let's actually like allow that to come forward.
Well, when you were talking about the necklace too, I was thinking of yourself, because you have all these, what seem like very almost disparate skills, in very different regions with, government strategy and being a yogi, not just like a yoga teacher. Alexis is actually a yogi. That takes years of study and gone to India. You've done, every time I talk to you, you're like, oh, that time when I lived in South Africa and was doing this.
No, that never happened. Tanzania and Uganda, but not South Africa. I wish.
Okay, she was in Africa. But yeah, as I learn more and more about your life, I see a puppy coming in. There are so many different experiences and skills that you've picked up through your life that seem so, to be talking to different people. But I love how you bring it together so that the same person might actually benefit from all those things potentially, and you can offer them to different people too. But the Alexis-ness is like what
well, that's really like, I joined B school. I had all these great ideas when I left the government, and I joined B school and I flipped out.
I did.
It's a great program.
That was my same experience. Yeah. Like, I left my job. I was like, oh, I'm doing B school. And then like that first part where you have to know what you're doing, like totally threw me off. Cause I was like, oh.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, I never made it past week 4, and I was like, well, that sucks. And so, like, this training, like, what I'm doing today is kicking off a program that I offer, and the program is what I call, like, the preschool. Like, before you enter sales school or B school, any of those programs that are awesome if you know what you're doing. But if you don't, they're just going to make you feel terrible about yourself. There's still great programs. Sign up for them. They help me tremendously, but we still have to know what the message is and who we're helping in order to take advantage of them. So actually, I think in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing a preschool 1-day live event.
Like a
really crazy.
Preschool?
But yeah. Not for B school, but just like, for people going into B school, like, hey, let's do a crash course in your business in 1 day, like live group training.
I think that's a good idea. Because when I did B school, I thought I was starting one business, but it wasn't ready. So I switched, and I was like, oh, I'm going to build a website for our music business, because we've never had one website where everything was available. And then I eventually got to the other business that I was trying to start when I started B school, when I was doing Zero to Launch. Let's talk about taking too many courses. And I'm not doing, we still have the label going and stuff, but I'm not really doing either of those now. Like, I've switched a couple of times with direction as I've learned more and actually worked with people. And I think what you think you'll do before you get clients and work with people, which I know some people enter B school with the whole business already set up and just want to further it. Some people are starting from scratch. The people who start from scratch, if you haven't worked with anybody yet, you may not have figured out like what you're best at offering them and how you can help them and what they actually want from you.
Yeah.
So a preschool for B school is the perfect thing. And I love how
it is. I'm excited about it. Okay.
For your webinar?
I guess I will go.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, ladies. And I can't wait for Snap School. I just signed up for it.
Awesome.
So. Thank you.
I'll see you at the webinar. And we're done here.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay. And Jeanette is here after her recent launch, which I was so excited about. And I'm doing the 30 days. 30 questions in 30 days for $30 program. You were coloring in your stars before. What happened?
Well, we started on Sunday, and so for anyone who wasn't on the line, I made myself a little preschool star chart, and every time someone enrolled, I colored a star so I could keep myself motivated. My goal was 100, and I think we closed somewhere around 170.
Wow, that's amazing.
Awesome.
Great. I want to make a chart too. I want to do that. That's a great idea.
Do a star chart. It helps.
Yeah, we're talking about doing like
Totally doing it. Look.
a financial goals coloring book. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could use anything like Jeanette was talking about, but I was like, maybe we could tailor it a little more to entrepreneurs.
Yes. We're going to do that.
That'd be fun.
I searched online for a goal chart, and it was supposed to be for piano practice or something like that. So
I'm totally making a chart right now.
It made it fun. my kids get into it too. So they would come home every day and find out how many stars they could color in.
I'm not showing that well. That's kind of how I do my goals right now, but I think stars would be way more fun than Post-it notes. Post-it notes are not nearly as exciting as stars. Yeah.
Depends. Some people really like Post-it notes.
Obviously I do. I like my colored ones. I have them all sort of color-coded. Like my tasks over there for different categories. That's what those are, like my episodes and my articles and blogs.
It will never be that organized, ever.
I should update this one though. Did I show you that one, Jeanette, the blank one? That's what that one was? It's the 5 chapters of the novel that we're going to start working on any day now, right?
Awesome.
Actually, I'm working on it through your program right now. I decided to take the prompts and apply them to characters and stuff. I haven't done today's yet because I was like, the music part, how do I apply the music part to my characters? And then I thought, they go to the prom. I'm totally going to have one of those songs from the late 80s or early 90s. I was thinking Red, Red Wine because I remember dancing to that when I was.
Love it.
Anyways, okay, go ahead. Tell us more.
What else do you want to know? Sorry.
You far surpassed your goal. That's really exciting.
Yeah. And for me, this was more, I had to do a lot of personal, kind of work to get through this because I'd been not silent. I'd been online and I'd still been visible and still been, growing my list and stuff, but I hadn't made anything to sell for 2 years. So I'd kind of gone into hiding as far as the ask of, here, I made this. Do you want it? Maybe.
I remember you told me you'd been putting things on Facebook, but you hadn't actually written your email list.
I did not email. I wrote a blog post with a little, at the end, if you read all the way to the end of the blog post, you would have seen the link to the page. But I didn't actually directly email my list and make this ask and tell them about this course. I mean, it probably really was the 11th hour. I think I had to be back at the rink at 5 and I finished it at 4:45 or something like that and pressed send right before the extent of my resistance to do that step was so huge, it surprised even me. And I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. And it works, of course. There was a whole slew of signups after I did it, but it was hard.
What do you think was the root of the resistance to asking the people who have specifically said, Jeanette, I like you. I want to hear more from you. Here's my email address. Send me things.
Well, part of it, I think, was that because I had been so quiet, I hadn't written a blog post since October. So in email marketing terms, I had a freezing cold list. It was Antarctica on my list. So that's a bad thing. You're never supposed to do that. Especially, you're not supposed to come out of a cold list and go directly to a sale either. So I was kind of anxious about that.
Did you warm them?
But in the end, I wrote it the way I write everything, which was, I did a blog post last week that I had written anyway, and I sent that out, but I didn't really do any other warm up. I think the reason it worked and the reason it was okay is because I was pretty vulnerable in the letter and pretty honest and open. And I think that connected with people because it wasn't a fancy flashy sales letter. Sorry, I'm being attacked again. Opie. They have uncanny, I think it's because I sit over here because this is where the light's good. Because I have been on the couch all day working and she hasn't bothered me at all. Every time I get on the job with you. And I think that, we all end up fighting our own demons and our own things. I have very little trouble with social media. That's my home base. And so there is some hesitation every time I would post something that's marketing related, like, are people not gonna like this? They want the other stuff, they want the inspirational. But that feels much more like home base to me. And the email list, I don't really, as much as I know about email marketing, as much as I can help other people and, worked in the field for 2 years, I don't do much email marketing. My list gets an RSS feed of my blog posts and I don't really send them anything else. So it felt really big to send them, hey, I have this. And if you want it, you have to buy it now.
I waited till the very last minute to tell you about it.
It was terrifying.
We should have gotten Agnes on here because Agnes is actually helping me with my email marketing. Though it's actually much less markety and more like letting them get to know me more because anytime I would send them things, I mean, I definitely send lots of free things, but it's like, oh, I did a podcast. Oh, I wrote an article. Oh, here is content that I can push out to you without me giving them anything more personal or interesting or get to know me kind of thing than what anyone on the podcast or who read my articles would get. And she was really convincing me of like, this is your people, you need to be giving them more of you because they are specifically asking to hear from you. And if they don't like it, they just unsubscribe. Which,
and learning to see unsubscribed as a gift is definitely
Jeanette, I have
a process.
A question for you.
It used to really,
so I'm just curious, did you consider doing something, people do these write-ups after they do a successful launch of something, and then they like write, this is what I did, this is what I didn't do, this is what I learned. I'm just curious only because like I want to know how you did it.
Yeah. And I plan to do that because I purposely want to share a launch that in dollars would not look successful compared to the launches that are usually celebrated in the groups that we're all part of. Yeah. Well, I care about the dollar. I mean, it matters. And that's definitely clear that the dollar from this matters because this is what I'm surviving on right now. This is actually paying all the bills.
But some of the big launches spent a lot more than you spent to do this. You did
probably so, yeah. But the dollar value isn't what makes this a success. I think what makes it a success is how it pushed me past all of the fears and all of the things I was holding inside for the last 2 years. When I convinced myself that I had to go safe and predictable and that I couldn't do this. I couldn't follow this calling anymore. It wasn't going to work out.
And people are really excited for it.
The reason it's a success is I know, it's
people
amazing.
Were like, this spoke, like I loved seeing them quote some of your words from it. Like I'd lost myself, just kind of like, and you're really vulnerable in there talking about divorce and raising 2 kids, all these things. And people are like, that totally spoke to me. And they are stoked to be doing it with you. And me too, I'm stoked to be in there.
Well, what comes easy to me that is probably hard for most people is the vulnerability part because I've been writing online so long. And so I'm so used to everyone knowing all the things about me that I don't tend to worry about that. That part's not hard for me. The way asking people to buy things is. And that's my own personal money issues and worthiness issues and all kinds of things that I'll probably be working on for many, many years to come. But yes, Melissa, I totally want to do a write-up and I want to reframe what a successful launch is because far beyond, I didn't make $50,000 or $100,000 with this launch. But to come out of kind of virtual hiding and put this up there and to be received the way it was and to kind of put something that was really not intentionally made to be a product, it just became one. And so I kind of followed it. I kind of followed the lead of creation on this one. And to have this happen, it's a beautiful thing. And I so needed it. Like I needed this to work in order to believe that I didn't have to go back to another cubicle. So yes, I want to do a write-up. I haven't quite figured out all of what's included in it, but I got an email on Sunday morning after the card had closed of someone begging, she used that word, me to let her in. And she'd mentioned how great the marketing was. And that was the first time I went, huh.
Like you didn't even try.
Someone commented on how I marketed this. I had to kind of figure out what I did. It was all very organic.
I noticed some of the times when I shared your post for you too, people were like, "Oh, I love Jeanette. I've wanted to work with her." Like I saw some people say that in some of the groups, and you and I were in different groups, so I tried to show you some of the comments people put. Group. And
no, that was really nice of you. Jenna's the best promoter in the world. I told her in the hockey rink that she should consider a side business where she's just promoting people.
Well, maybe I'll figure out some way to monetize promoting people. But I think, it was neat to see that people definitely knew you. They knew you from your writing. They knew you from your blog and your Twitter feeds. Where you just put out lots of really good writing material. And a lot of them didn't know that you had an offering that they could get in on. And they were like, oh, I'd love to work with Jeanette. Because I said, like, I'm working. Yeah.
So I basically spent 2 years making it impossible to work with me and give me money.
With your shopping cart when we were looking at it, I was like, how do paid for this thing. I bought these beautiful wall art back here just to show anyone who doesn't know them. If you go to Peace, Love, Free, right? And you want to get some of these, there's still some in stock. But yeah, you made it hard for people, and now they want it.
I did. And so that speaks to, I need years of counseling.
What was the turning point for you? Like, what changed everything?
I got laid off from my safe job. And so I had severance, so I didn't have to go find a job right away. But I spent most of December thinking, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to do my resume. And next week I'm going to get on LinkedIn and figure it out. And then all of a sudden I was reading Big Magic one day, and there's a quote in there about anything, I think, something about anything that's not driving you towards your purpose and getting in the way of it is not serving you. And all of a sudden I put the book down and I sat there and I went, well, damn it. I'm not looking for another job. Okay. I need to figure out what comes next. And something, energetically that shifted something in the universe, because all of a sudden I got one-on-one clients that I hadn't had coming in, and I got requests and I got inquiries. That I can only attribute to universal energy, because I don't think I did anything different. I wasn't blogging. I wasn't putting it out there. And then the course offering came out of my own explorations and trying to find my way back to myself, and just, like I said, following creation's lead on that one. But I think necessity is the mother of invention here. If I don't want another job, I'm a single mom with 2 kids, and I have to find a way for this to support us.
I want to point out, though, last spring, a little less than a year ago, you and I talked, and one of the things you wanted to talk about was an exit strategy from that job that eventually laid you off. Do you remember? Like, you really did want the creative stuff to, over time start flowing in, and it was like your hand got forced, but that was what you wanted.
Right, because I didn't start to do anything. I wanted out from the day I got in there, not because it was a bad place. It was a wonderful place to work. I worked with amazing people. The learning experience was phenomenal. But every day I walked in, I felt like, no, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I feel really lucky to know what I'm here for. I don't think a lot of people are that lucky. So yeah, but I wouldn't have had the courage. I stayed frozen. I didn't do any of the things we talked about a year ago. I just had sitting there and going about my day to day and making the commute and coming home and not doing much. So yeah, totally. I have another client who said, I guess there's a quote from The Art of War about burning your ships. That's how you win the wars, by burning all your ships, so you have nowhere else to go. And that's what happened. My ships got burnt, and somehow, and I know that doesn't mean that all of a sudden this is peachy, because this wasn't $100,000 launch, so it's not like this is enough money to carry further. So I feel the pressure of knowing I have to be thinking a couple of months ahead now. So what happens after this one ends? And how do we keep that feeling organic and intentional without feeling constrained and like, okay, I've got to have another way to make money. What's the next thing? I don't want it to feel that way. So I'm kind of working through that now.
And I have a question for you. In case anybody doesn't know, the photography that's on my website of me with a black dress on, that's all Jeanette, which is another thing you don't advertise that you do. Like when I tried, so we talked about it, and I tried to go find it on your website to get a price and pay you. That was hard too, which I'm hoping you'll do another session for me, because I use those photos more than anything else. And, I've kind of involved you in my idea of rebrand, but is that something that you want to offer to people? Or do you not feel as drawn with, is that, I don't know. What do you think about photography?
I do not want to have a photography business anymore. I got definitely really burned out on the industry and what happened in photography in the post-Groupon living social era and all of that. My business changed
I don't know
lot.
anything about any of that. I just knew it was a nice experience with you, where it's, especially for us normal people who are not like models or actresses or anything, trying to have some decent photos on our website that aren't selfies, but also aren't like Sears photography studio looking, like,
I can do that.
I don't want Sears photography, but there's something.
We should do one.
There's almost this like people assume if you have really nice pictures, or that you need to have really nice pictures or something. And I agree that you don't want to have just like any old picture that you cropped someone out of or whatever on your business website, but at the same time, it still has to feel like you. And I think that, Jeanette really captured that with Jen's pictures. So yeah.
Yeah, and I felt really comfortable like the whole day. Well, not that we didn't have much time because we had to leave pretty quickly, but we were having conversations and hanging out and talking, and it wasn't this like, I don't know, stilted, awkward.
Okay, now probably.
I told you at the beginning, you're gonna feel stupid in the beginning no matter what. Like, let's get that out of the way. All the good pictures are at the end. And so, but I have played around with the idea of now that I'm doing both the writing work and a lot more of the marketing of writing work together with clients, what would a package look like where I could fly out to someone and be with them for a week, and we would, kind of go through the whole process with their website copy and whatever product they were launching, and create pictures and do a whole thing. I've thought about that a little bit. I don't know where that might lead me or when that might come in, but I would
play with it.
It's theoretically out there that
I can play with it as we move towards getting ready for Laura this summer. You can try it out with me, and then we'll see how how you want to package it for everybody else.
My photography site is still live. It's just hidden behind so if you just go to JeanetteLeBlanc.com, there's just a coming soon page. But if you go to /blog, you can actually see. And it is many years out of date. But you can still see it
now. You guys probably still see my face, but I don't see you anymore. I see the photography. And I like the rock and roll one. That's cool.
So yeah, but that was a hard time, I think. And I only got to catch a little bit of earlier when we were talking about all these different ideas and different things you have. I struggled for a long time with how to divide myself between photography and writing. And in the end, I think one thing had to win. I miss it. I love photography, but I don't think right now is the season for that for me overall. I feel much more deeply called to this process of writing and voice and helping people tell their stories. So, but who knows when it'll come back.
A potential conjunction for those is the telling of people's stories, like photos, telling people's stories. Like I was just scrolling down, looking at I don't know if those were wedding or engagement, probably engagement photos of that couple, and I don't know. Seeing pictures, you immediately start to build ideas of what these people are like. So like the pictures and the words, they go together so well. All the kids' books have pictures and words. It could be all about pictures and words,
I love it. So who knows what will happen with that. But I will tell you that one of the next 30-day things, because I think this is going to be repeated, will likely be in partnership with a friend of mine who's another photographer, and it will be about that juncture of seeing and being seen together. So it will involve some self-portrait photography, writing prompts all in one. So stay tuned.
So is the idea to kind of roll the people who've done this first 30-day program into the next one, or is it a totally separate offering?
I think there'll be separate offerings. I mean, I would obviously, if this one goes well, I would love it if some of those people decide to continue on. I don't think it'll do it every month because it is in retrospect quite a lot for $30.
Emails, much less like putting together the workbook and.
Yeah, I don't seem to do anything halfway. Either I don't do it at all, or I do it all the way. But at the same time, I still feel really solid about that $30 place. I need to work on developing what I ramp people up to and what the steps are after that, so that makes sense and I can move to higher dollar things. But I feel I've had people try to dissuade me from this $30 price, and I feel really solid and good about it.
It's totally
honestly. Yeah, I would hope not. And even more than that, I want it to be a really accessible entry point into what's possible.
Even just like the bits of your writing that are very lovely and poetic in each one are worth the $30 without telling me what to do next and getting me prompted and going, And actually, I don't know, like I'm suddenly thinking like of you packaging together these $30 things, and they can end up being the passive income that leads people into your, higher level stuff as you go on.
Yeah, that's a hope that I'll eventually be able to create like a course space where people can do these passively. So I won't necessarily be actively monitoring the Facebook group and encouraging the conversation,
Mhm.
but people can sign up and do it at any point.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Awesome. Well, that is fantastic. And, if we are going to, I don't know about you guys, but I was going to go to Alexis's webinar next, which is coming up in like 8 minutes. So should we wrap it up? Should we put one last link to each of your pages where people can go find out more? And especially if you have another one coming up next month, Jeanette, you should put where they can get information or get on your list, because you'll be telling your list about it this time earlier, right? Right, Jeanette? Gross.
Right.
I was trying to say, if people want to get on your list to find out about the next
I'm
round
catching
of the
what you're
30
saying.
days, give them a link. Okay, there we go. And Snap School from Melissa. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It was great to talk to both
I think that that's a correct subscribe. We'll see.
Oops, it kind of paused and then went really fast for a second.
Jeanette, we can't really hear you or see you.
Okay, well, let's say
Yeah,
bye.
I can't
Thank
really
you
hear you
guys.
either.
See you later. If you want to find out more about joining Mastering Money Matters yourself, go to my website, jenturrell.com, and click on the Mastering Money Matters button in the navigation bar.
Assignments that are really meant to be things that you can easily do in 15 minutes a day.